All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. So, after a 1-7 start to this NFL season, the New York Jets have officially decided to throw in the towel on 2025. And the Jets proclaimed this today as they traded Pro Bowl cornerback Sauce Gardner to the Indianapolis Colts and Pro Bowl defensive tackle Quinnen Williams to the Dallas Cowboys. Now, both of these moves, plain and simple, were shockers, okay? As the current Jets regime is clearly looking to go in a different direction. Now, defensively, the Jets have not been as good as they were initially expected to be this year, as there was clearly a stalemate as both Gardner and Williams had success under former head coach Robert Saleh. And of course, in the case of Gardner, he was drafted by Saleh. But me seeing these moves, this is just from an outsider's perspective, it to me just screams of Jets head coach Aaron Glenn wanting guys for his system and him really not looking to adjust slightly to his current players. So you look at this, and this was like the perplexing part because I know that Aaron Glenn is not attached to the hip at any of these guys, but we just saw the Jets give Sauce Gardner a 4-year extension for nearly $120 million in July. Where did things go wrong 4 months later? Okay. That's going to be one of the big questions for me. Now, we look at this trade, and in sending Gardner to Indy, the Jets are getting back wide receiver Adonai Mitchell, as well as the Colts' first round picks in both 2026 and 2027. And then in the case of sending Quinnen Williams to Dallas, the Jets are receiving a second round pick from Dallas in 2026, as well as a first rounder in 2027. And here's the catch: Dallas already has a pair of first round picks for 2027 after they sent Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. So now the Jets have the option, whichever one of those picks that belongs to Dallas, whether it be their own or the Green Bay pick, is going to be the Jets pick as far as which one is higher in the pecking order of the 2027 draft. On top of that, the Jets are also receiving defensive tackle Maisie Smith. But when you look at this thing for the Jets, they're now going to have two first round picks in 2026, as well as three first rounders, okay, for 2027. The Colts pick and Dallas's pick. But on the out on just looking at it at the surface, you're like, okay, great. The Jets have some picks, but throughout their history, what have the Jets shown us at the NFL draft that says, you know what, we can really sit back and get excited about the Jets doing right? Because the Jets do not have the best track record as far as picking the right people. And draft picks are like currency. Okay. It only works out if the person who has those picks knows what they are doing. And I'm not sold on that for the New York Jets. I've never really been sold on that for the New York Jets. So you look at Aaron Glenn, the Jets head coach, as well as GM Darren Mogi, and clearly they're getting a mulligan for this season. This season got away from the Jets very quickly. But I'll tell you like this: yes, they're getting a mulligan, but if you don't find the right players in the draft, if you are the Jets, this day is going to be remembered one way or the other. Okay, because you gave up some good football players. All right, and I really do think that the Aaron Glenn regime gave up on Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams too quick. These guys were too big of an impact players under former head coach Robert Saleh for it not to work out with them under Aaron Glenn. I think, in my personal opinion, I think Eagles got into the mix right here. But nonetheless, this day is going to define Aaron Glenn's time as the Jets head coach, one way or the other. Okay, so now you already have a Jets team that already has plenty of holes. All right. Now they've got to go out there and figure out defensive tackle and one of their starting cornerbacks. So from the Colts perspective, you could say that we just saw them pay a steep price to pick up Sauce Gardner, but they do appear to be all in on making an impact this year and getting to the AFC playoffs. Matter of fact, Indy has the best record in the AFC right now at 7-2. But I'll tell you like this from the Colts perspective, when you give up the draft capital that they just gave up, two first round picks in the NFL is huge. Okay. So when you give up that type of draft capital, it better work. And I think right now, if you're the Colts and the way that they can play D, I think Sauce Gardner is really going to fit into what this team does. It's a situation where I think this is going to help the back end of that Colts defense, especially get into the postseason, because you think about some of the offenses that you're going to have to deal with if you're Indianapolis and if you want to come out of the AFC this year in the postseason. You're going to have to deal with Kansas City. You're going to have to deal with Denver. You're going to have to deal with the Chargers, probably the Steelers and Ravens, maybe. Okay, and probably Buffalo and Jacksonville. These are the teams that you're going to have to deal with. So now you get yourself a quality cornerback in Sauce Gardner. Okay, so I really think from that aspect, it was a smart move by the Colts. For Dallas, I don't get it, okay, because we just saw Jerry Jones, have his ego get the best of him just prior to the start of the season. He traded Micah Parsons to Green Bay, and now you're going to bring in Quinnen Williams. I think this would have been a great move, okay, if you're talking about you still had a Micah Parsons, and then you bring in Quinnen Williams along that defense as well. But honestly, it's under the category of simply make it make sense. For me, I'm looking at it like this. I mean, the Jets. We just saw the Jets make some headlines today, but I'm really not going to get excited about it because I don't have a lot of trust and the Jets making the right personnel decisions. Now, if you told me that these are the Philadelphia Eagles under Howie Roseman, who had three first round picks coming their way for 2027 and two more for 2026, or if you told me this possibly were the San Francisco 49ers or the Los Angeles Rams, okay, you know what? I'm going to get excited because teams like that know what they're doing at the NFL draft. The Jets don't. And it's not just this regime. This goes back decades as far as the Jets being unable to get out of their own way. The draft picks are nice, I get it, but the Jets got a lot of holes. Justin Fields at quarterback is not the long-term answer there. What are they going to do about the offensive line? What are they going to do about the defensive line right now? The Jets need a lot of changes. I said before this year was going to be a fact-finding mission for Aaron Glenn. I didn't think that the fact-finding mission was going to include them getting rid of two of their best defensive players. And I know people will hear me say that, and then they'll clearly say, well, Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams really didn't have big seasons this year, which they did not. But again, I think that falls into the line of coaching because if you're Aaron Glenn, you knew what you had coming in defensively with this squad, and now you're tearing it down. Okay. I think what the Jets really should have done, they should have tried to find some middle ground to try to see how Aaron Glenn could fit those guys into his system, but also seeing what they're comfortable with. That's just my 2 cents on it. But nonetheless, the Jets definitely made some headlines today. Will it work long term for them? I'm not optimistic, but hey, you never know. However, the Jets do have some draft capital to play with going forward, but they also parted with two of their best players. They're 1-7. This season is clearly a wash right now for the Jets, and let's just see how things work out for them over the second half of the season, as well as going into 2026. And let's see if they could try to find some impact players to replace the likes of Quinnen Williams and Sauce Gardner. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. TFX, what's going on, my man? You're saying they got a lot of draft picks. They got a lot of draft picks, absolutely. But I don't know about you, man. It's the Jets. I'm not holding my breath on them doing the right thing at the NFL draft. I mean, we have seen it far too many times as far as the Jets going out there and they can't get out of their own way at the draft. They pick the wrong people. That's why I'm simply not optimistic about all of the draft picks. Again, when you have a guy with the talent of Sauce Gardner, I think you find a way to make it work. I think when you have a guy with the talent of a Quinnen Williams, you go out there and you find a way to make it work. Um, this better work for Aaron Glenn, okay, because he just gave up a lot of talent today. So this had better work. And I guarantee you, if it does not work, people are going to circle back and look at this day and look at these two shocking trades that came down the pike. Just my 2 cents there. But yeah, folks, if you like what you heard and saw in this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button, subscribe to this channel. You're also saying, yeah, whenever you think they figure it out, they crash and burn. Listen, it's the Jets. It's the Jets, man. It's like at the end of the day, they are a franchise that simply cannot get out of their own way. And because of that, this is going to make this Sunday very interesting because we've got Cleveland taking on the Jets and two go nowhere franchises who are once again out of it. And it's the beginning of November. I'll tell you like this, the winner of that game might be the ultimate loser because they're probably going to go down a couple of notches in the pecking order for the 2026 NFL draft. But then again, the Browns and Jets, neither one of them know what they're doing at the draft. So it's from from a critic standpoint, it's the gift that keeps on giving. But if you're a diehard that supports one of these fan bases, it's just a head scratcher, and it's something that's just to make people pull out their hair, so to speak. But at the end of the day, the Jets are the Jets, and they simply can't get out of their own way. That's just it, my man. But yeah, folks, if you like what you heard just on this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. And like I always say, if you can always check me out on the X, formerly known as Twitter. You give me that follow at 300 pounds of sports, and I'll give you that follow right back. And the same goes for Instagram at 300 pounds of sports knowledge. Also, if you're on Facebook, definitely check out the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports debating groups going on social media. TFX, my man, I'm sorry. And I'll say it from the standpoint that, hey, it's the Jets, man. It's one of those where, honestly, when the Jets made the trade today for Sauce Gardner, I'm surprised that they got back the 2 second round picks that they did. Honestly, knowing the Jets, they might have traded Sauce Gardner to the Colts for, a pack of cools and a couple of ham sandwiches. But nonetheless, they did get some draft picks out of it. But it's the Jets. They're going to mess it up. That's the only way to say it. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off and I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And before I sign off, let me read this comment from TFX here. You're saying Sauce never grew up into an NFL body. He's built for college. Um, I'll say this. Sauce was a Robert Saleh guy. And I know that Quinnen Williams was drafted under Adam Gase, but we saw Quinnen Williams' best seasons under Robert Saleh because the last 3 years, Quinnen Williams made the Pro Bowl. Okay. And I think, now that Robert Saleh is has gone back to San Francisco and he's once again their defensive coordinator, we're seeing his effect as he's coaching up that defense. And of course, the 49ers have injuries, a ton of injuries, and they're still going out there and making it happen. Robert Saleh could coach up some defense. Okay. Of course, his biggest mistakes were that he never fixed the offense for the Jets. They got rid of Sam Darnold. They gave up on Sam Darnold, should I say. And they went with Zach Wilson. And of course, that was a train wreck. But with the way that the Jets were able to create pressure with their front four under Robert Saleh, a guy like Sauce Gardner in the back, in the back end of that secondary could thrive. Aaron Glenn has a different defense, um, than the one Robert Saleh ran, and it's one of those where the guys that he has currently just don't fit. And that again, this is why I felt like there needed to be some type of middle ground between head coach and players and say, hey, you know what? These guys don't fit my system, but let me see if I could tweak something to try to make it work. And I'm not sure because clearly I'm not in that building. So I don't know what was going on. But to me, from an outsider's perspective, it just looks like it said, you know what? Hey, this ain't working. I want guys who are going to fit my system, and we're going to go forward with that. And again, like I said, when you give up players the caliber of a Quinnen Williams and a Sauce Gardner, yeah, you get draft picks back, but you better go out there and make it work. And I cannot say this enough. Please forgive me if I'm sounding like a broken record. The Jets just simply don't have a great track record at the NFL draft. They don't have a great track record as far as finding talent. They don't have a great track record when it comes to developing talent. This is why I cannot get excited about all of the draft capital that the Jets have. They've got 3 first round picks in 2027. That's all well and good. But Aaron Glenn needs to go out there and hit on some of these guys in 2026. And not only does he need to go out there and hit on some of these guys, he needs to go out there and find a couple of guys who are going to make an impact immediately for the Jets. Because again, if it doesn't happen, the people like his critics, the naysayers, all of that, they're going to turn it back and look at what just went down today and say, hey, you know what? The clock is going to be ticking. And the clock will be ticking for Aaron Glenn if he and the Jets louse this up. That's the bottom line. You're saying Sauce had great star power, sold a lot of jerseys. Remember when he wore that cheese hat on his head? Yeah, because I think when he got drafted, the draft was in Green Bay. No. I take that back. That was a year the Jets went on the road and knocked off the Packers at Lambeau. That's what it was. Um, it's the Jets, man. They're gonna screw it up. They can't help it, man. That's what they do, man. But until next time, fine folks. My name is William Martin. Let me see. Oh, let me before I go. He said his rookie year. That's what it was. That's what it was. But again, like I said before, it's one of those where Robert Saleh coached up that defense, talented defense, but they couldn't fix the offense. And you look at it, he's going to that Shane Steichen defense out there in Indianapolis. I think he has an opportunity to succeed out there. I truly do. I'm not as optimistic with Quinnen Williams in Dallas because they simply don't have a lot of pieces. But I will say this because Dallas has had an issue stopping the run all season long. I guarantee you bringing in a Quinnen Williams will help, remedy some of that. Not all of it, but it will remedy some of that for the Cowboys. But still, again, I I was very perplexed by this move by the Jets today. And like I said before, I am just simply not optimistic about them figuring this out at the draft. That's just my 2 cents on it, man. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off and I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody. Peace out, TFX. Be good, man.